I have the best job in the house tonight. You know, there's nobody sitting at home watching tonight, or nobody in this audience that wants to see you retire to your rocking chair by any means. But we do want you to enjoy being the next member of the Country Music Hall of Fame.
You know, I've won a lot of awards, I'm not bragging, a lot of awards over the period of years, and each and every one of them was fantastic. They made you feel great. They kept you going and made you try harder and work harder. But this has got to be the greatest one in the world. It's made my day. It's made my whole life. Thank you so much. I love you.
Hello. This week, our guest on the Record is a very remarkable individual. He has had hit records in 5 decades, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. I checked the other day with the Country Music Foundation to learn how many albums that he had made and had been released during his career. They said, I think you are safe to say at least 200. He is a rather remarkable fellow. Most people say that he is their favorite country music singer, the greatest of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome George Jones. Georgie, how you doing? Well.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Have a seat.
All right.
George, what do you think about that night? What was going through your head the night that they gave you the award and enrolled you in, or enshrined you in the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Well, I don't know, Ralph. It's kind of hard to explain. You know, you're nervous, you're uptight, and, you know, and wondering what to say, you know, to say the right things. And I think you're better off sometimes by just not worrying about it and go out there and let it come out what's going to come out. And that's just about the way I wound up doing it. But I hope I did express my feelings, the appreciations, you know, the right way.
Heart pounding?
Huh?
Was your heart pounding?
Oh, man, it's pounding right now.
George has written a book titled I Live to Tell It All. Once you read the book, you'll think probably that it's remarkable that he did live to tell it all, that he is alive at all, when you learn all the things that he's been through. And let me show you the cover here. George, why'd you write this book?
Well, Ralph, to be honest with you, I never thought about writing one myself. Of course, Tom Carter, you know, helped me with the book. But there's been a couple of books or so been, you know, written and put out about me, and they were strictly written from hearsay. I never was interviewed once at all by these people that wrote the books, and mostly 90% of the stuff in there were hearsay things that came up through the years and passed on to other people, to other people, to other people, and pretty soon it was mountains made out of molehills. And I just thought I'd come along now and try to write one and tell the truth for change, and get the record straight.
I want to move forward a moment and talk about your first guitar. I believe your daddy gave it to you.
Yes, they went into Beaumont maybe once a month, which was about 60 miles, and we always rode the little train that we call the Doodlebug. And they didn't take me very often, but I'd cry every time, you know, when they left, and they'd go in there like on a Saturday and come back that same evening. But I loved to go to the city. And they hardly ever took me, but when they did, well, I really enjoyed it. And this one time came up that after I'd been singing a while on the weekends that he got my sister and I to do. He took us in. Was going to take me into Beaumont and had a surprise for me. So we got in there and went to the Jefferson Music Company in Beaumont and found this little Gene Autry guitar. I think it was about $16.
Meant a lot to you, didn't it?
Oh, it meant more to me than anything.
Let's go back to this picture of, I believe, you on the streets of Beaumont, Texas. How old are you, George?
I can't really remember that well, but I look younger, but I think I was probably 12 or 13. I was always real small, haven't grown a lot.
These were real lean years for you and your family, and you went downtown in Beaumont one day.
On that very street.
To a shoe shine stand, right?
Yes, it's like a little arcade type inlet there, you know. They have in between the buildings, and they had a little shoe shine stand out in front that the black people, you know, shine shoes. And I stopped in there I was down there just roaming around with a guitar on my back with that strap that's on there, and got to this shoe shine stand, just started strumming and playing, you know, and the guy told me I could sit up on the seat, you know. So I got up there and just started playing, singing Precious Jewel and Wabash Cannonball and things like that.
Roy Acuff songs.
Mostly, yeah. And on a Sunday, wasn't that many people uptown, you know, and eventually, you know, one would walk by every now and then. Pretty soon, we had 20, 30 people standing there listening, you know, and throwing quarters and nickels and dimes and everything down there in front on the ground. And when I counted it all up, when I got through and I counted it all up, I had about a little less than $25, $24 or something. More money than I'd ever seen in my life.
What did you do with that money?
I went into that penny arcade and had me a ball.
Did you blow it all right there?
Oh, I didn't have no money. I had a couple of dollars left when I left there. I've never seen so much money in my life.
Did you ever go back and do that again?
No.
Brought to you.
Let's talk about two gentlemen who played a major role in your life, Pappy Daly and Jack Starnes. When did you meet them?
I met them when I first came out of the Marine Corps, and in fact, I did some negotiating and talking by way of mail and what have you when I was fixing to get out, and they wanted me to come see them as soon as I got home and got settled. They told me they just formed a label, Starday Records, and they were very interested in signing me.
What was your first record?
The first record was a tune called There Ain't No Money in This Deal. You're in My Heart was on the other side.
Did you cut this at Jack Starnes' house?
House.
What, living room or someplace?
Yeah, it was right next door to a club they owned, Neva's. You know, that Neva was Jack Starnes' wife. And they came on later to become managers and handling Lefty Frizzell, but right when he got real hot, you know.
Who are the people in this picture, George? Do you recognize these people?
Yes, that's Pappy Daly on the left, myself, and Gabe Tucker's wife, and that's Gabe Tucker with his wife there.
And Gabe was a promotion man for Starday Records.
Right.
Also, he was, program director at a radio station in Houston.
Right.
And I believe his wife's name was Sunshine.
Sunshine, that's it. I was trying to think of it.
What was your second record?
Second record?
Was that Why Baby Why?
No, I think it was called Still Hurtin'. Oh, Lord. Why Baby Why came, that was 54, so Why Baby Why came up about midway of 55 and went on, well, latter part of 55 and went on in, it reached its peak in early 56.
Was your first hit?
Was the first hit, yeah.
You got covered by Webb Pierce and Red Sovine.
Right.
George, what I'm about to do to you
No, me.
is a little revenge.
All right.
When I played records all night on WSM, George used to give me a fit about playing Jim Reeves records because they had strings, and he didn't like strings or voices. And he
No offense to Jim Reeves.
and Patsy Cline. A lot of people, they use those strings. He'd just get all over me for doing that because he was a very traditional country singer and loved country music. And I thought, well, I can respect that. But then, a little later, I heard about Thumper Jones. Thumper Jones was one of George's alter egos. And Thumper Jones was a rock and roll singer. I want to play a little bit.
I told them when they talked me into that the only way I would do that is they used a different name.
Did everybody
And then
know?
people like you had to go tell.
All right, let me hear a little bit of Thumper Jones. Here's a guy.
Oh, come on, don't do that.
Here's a guy that hates rock and roll. Okay, listen to this.
When I do my rockin', baby, I wanna keep my share, 'cause I like rockin', rockin', rockin'. Yeah, when I'm rockin', I wanna rockin' with you.
Well, the only thing I can say is I wanted to show you what I think it sounds like, all of it.
And to compound this scenario, George wrote that song.
Well, they wanted me to do something real quick, so I just thrown it together.
Well, you wrote Rocket and Dadgummit, How Come It?
You didn't write that many of them. Now, there's only two.
Thumper had a very short career, didn't he?
You know, you do a lot of things that you never can live down, and that was during the days when you needed a buck bad. And if they'd give you $200 or $300 to do something like that, you'd do it.
Had the drinking started by this time in your career?
Well, you're going to be amazed when I tell you that when I played all them taverns and things with Eddie and Pearl, and even a long time after that, I never drank a drop of anything, Coca-Cola.
Okay, when did the drinking start?
Even to the time, I would say that I was in the service probably close to a year before I ever really drank first beer. But when I came out of service and really started playing more or less all the time, full time, in the honky-tonks and clubs, I don't know, it was just hard to put up with the people because you'd mingle with them and you had to, and you wanted to, you know, because you enjoyed what you was doing. But bless their hearts, they'd be drunk and a lot and spitting on you and falling on you and hanging on to you. And you know, and that's the things you have to put up with in those clubs. And I don't know, I think something like that led me to sneaking in the back and drinking a beer. And then two, and eventually that wasn't strong enough.
Was the alcohol some sort of defensive mechanism because you didn't like the people that came to?
No, don't put it that way.
Okay. How would you like to put it?
I love the people. It's just hard to explain
You didn't like them
the way I
spitting on
want to explain it. You messed me up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's just that I think these things, you know, by being among them that much,
Did a lot of your
them drinking. And,
did a lot of your fans offer to buy you a drink?
Oh yeah, you know, they insisted.
You go to the Louisiana Hayride down in Shreveport, I assume because of the hits you're having on Starday Records.
I tried to get on the Hayride a long time before, well, a couple years before, but they wouldn't even talk to me until I got a record in the charts. So I went to the Hayride shortly, for a short time, as soon as I came out with Why Baby Why.
Who was at the Hayride when you were down there?
Johnny Horton, Elvis Presley came while I was there during that time. In fact, that was about the time that we left, after he left, because he changed the entire crowd, music crowd. Mm-hmm. The older people wouldn't come and listen to Elvis Presley, because that was rock, you know, and that was jumpy music. And so you lost that whole entire crowd. And then we had to start singing rock on there because that's the only way you could get a hand, after he would perform especially.
Is this where
You heard about following the three-legged dog and all that stuff. Well, you know, Elvis Presley, you know, you can't, it's hard to follow anybody like that.
Did you resort to singing like Little Richard at the Louisiana Hayride?
Well, I went out there one night. I got fed up. I said, nobody could get a hand, nobody could do anything that the people seemed to enjoy except Elvis when he was on. So I said, well, he usually does Long Tall Sally. So I'm on before him tonight. I'm going to go on and do Long Tall Sally. Well, I went out there and did Long Tall Sally, and we tore him up. But that was before he ever come on.
Okay.
See? And I heard that Elvis had said something about what's he doing going out and doing one of the songs that I do. I said, I didn't know you did it. I said, that's Little Richard, as far as I'm concerned. So I did Long Tall Sally. I started doing it every Saturday night. Well, about the only thing, you know, you have to do those things.
George, I want to ask you about a few other people here. You became a big star. And you were touring one time with Buck Owens. And you thought he was ugly, didn't you?
Yeah, he wasn't the best looking guy in the world.
You remember what you called him?
Oh, no, I ain't getting into that. Read the book.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know whether we have any Buck Owens fans here, but to George, Buck Owens was gizzard lip.
No. No, me and Buck was always very close friends.
Right. But there was a tour where the two of you argued about who was going to close, which is the star-spotted show.
Well, you know, actually, I never did care about closing the show. In fact, I always asked the promoters to let me open up because I wanted the people ready to go, you know, and not wore out. But this was one of the times I was having fun. And we were on about an 8-10 day tour together out in Canada and Northwest. And I'm not sure of the town, but I said, Buck, you've been closing I'll just playing with him, you know. I said, Buck, you've been closing all the shows every night. Let me be the star tonight. Let me close. And, he said, we can't do that. I said, well, you better let me close tonight. And he wouldn't do it. He said, no, we can't do that, Jordan. Okay. So I went out on stage. I went out on stage, and I never sung one of my songs. I sung everything he had in his catalog.
You know what? I read that, and what?
Of course, that wasn't the nicest thing to do, you know, because people wanted to hear him sing it, you know, his songs.
When I read it, I wondered how you happened to know the lyrics to all his songs.
Oh, well,
you must have been
back in those days when, you know, it seems like when you was younger, you could remember songs, you know. You can't remember them too much anymore.
The road gets boring, doesn't it?
Very boring, yeah.
The only fun you're really having is performing.
Right.
And traveling gets boring night after night.
That's the reason I was telling you earlier in the interview, that's the way we looked at it back in those days. It was just one big party, and once you got on stage, it was that's what it's all about.
You think that because the road night after night was so boring that it caused people to wreck hotel rooms, drink more whiskey, that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah. I think letting off steam or whatever.
George, I'm going to have an old friend of mine join us here, the man who named you Possum. I'm sure a lot of people wonder where that came from.
One of my very dearest friends.
And this man is T. Tommy Cottrell. Tommy and I used to work together at WSM. We were disc jockeys together. So let's go back and talk to Tom about how he created the Possum.
George had an album. It was the first one I ever saw. I was in Shreveport at KCIJ in Shreveport, and Biff Colley called and said, are you riding George Jones's records for Pappy Daly? And I said, well, I'm playing it occasionally and getting a few requests. He said, well, he has this new album. I said, I got the album. And he said, help him as much as you can. And I said, well, sure, I'd be glad to do it, because Pappy was a friend of mine, too. And the album cover, they must have put it on by hand, you know, looked like that, because it was discolored, and all the covers were like that on that particular album. And George, in those days, wore his hair in a burr haircut, which was very popular back then. And I looked at it and thinking of Little Pogo, the little comic strip by Mr. Kelly about the Everglades animals. Pogo was the little possum, and he had an alligator buddy and a raccoon buddy. And I couldn't call him Pogo, but he did remind me of the little possum because of the discoloration of his hair. It was black and white and gray mostly, and not beautiful gray like it is now, just a discolored like a possum. And his little eyes are round. And I thought, well, he reminds me of Pogo. I can't call him Pogo. I'm going to call him Possum. And other disc jockeys picked up on it. People got a kick out of it. But the Possum got unhappy about me calling him Possum. The word got back to him someplace. And he said, who in the world is this no good calling me Possum? Where does he get off? I'll wait till I see him, I'll box his ears or something to that effect, as only Possum would say. And but he got over it, and you know, of course, I love him to death, and I think he's the greatest country singer who ever lived. There are three singers who are the greatest to me, and that's Ray Charles, Frank Sinatra, and George Jones in their particular fields. Nobody's ever been better, and as far as I'm concerned, we'll never get any better.
You know, we could be calling you George Pogo Jones.
He's also the cause of me having to wear these sunglasses now.
Why is that?
Because he called me beady-eyed. I've had a complex all these years.
But that caught on. In fact, I used to use it all the time. I picked it up from Tommy.
Well, for a long time, I thought it was you. It was between you or him. One
No, I
that
stole
started.
that from him.
So it got me confused.
Who created the No-Show Jones thing?
Well, it just happened. Now, those during the bad days, and really, I'm not trying to deny any of it, but there was a lot of it pumped up on top of the few days that I did miss by some of the people that I was involved with, managing me and booking me and what have you. And they knew the state of mind I was in. They knew that I wasn't going to be there, and they would book other dates on the same date. They'd have me somewhere else just to get the front money in, you know.
Yeah, if you book an act, you have to pay 50% up front.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes not quite as much. $2,500, $3,000 they would give earnest money, and they had me booked all over the world there, and they had me looking a lot worse than the dates that I actually missed, which I did miss a lot of dates, but not near the dates that they assumed I did.
George, didn't promoters also, knowing your reputation, run ads in the local press and announce that George Jones was coming to town without ever even booking you?
That was a lot of that going on.
And as I understand it, the show would start, and after people got drunk, he would announce, it sounds like a dance.
Well, you know, he sold his drinks, and even though he knew he would have to give back the door money.
After he announced that you weren't coming.
But he's done got a night of drink sales, you know, that has made him pretty well off there for a night's work of not having nobody booked there to start with, you know.
And I guess if they're having
And these things did go on. They went on. Things like that went on a lot back in those days with a lot of artists.
George, I want you to tell me, and I'll tell you why, the lawnmower story. And the reason I'm trying to clear this up is because in Tammy's book, she mentioned that this happened when you lived at the plantation house down in Florida. I've even heard that it happened in Nashville. When I picked up your book, I read it happened in Texas.
Well, I've been on a couple of week binge or a couple of months, whatever it was. And so when I came home, well, they all knew everything I'd done while I was gone and where I was at and this and that and the other. And when I got home, well, they had prepared for me. They hid my pickup truck, they hid my cars, and they hid everything that I had that had a motor in it. And talked my brother-in-law Dub coming down and watching me until I straightened up. And I laid, it was a Sunday morning. It always happens on Sunday, you know, when you don't have a drink and you need one. So I was wanting to get up. I was wanting to get out of there and get a drink because I was feeling awful bad. And so I waited and waited, and 2 or 3 hours passed, and I'd say, Lord, and I couldn't find no transportation. I looked out my bedroom window, and I saw this little 10-horsepower Cub Cadet sitting out there. And they were just sitting there as pretty as you please. Man, that's the prettiest sight I ever seen in my life. And my brother was on the other far end of the house in the kitchen, and I was on the other end in my bedroom. So I said, well, I'll just sneak on that little booger and get down to the cutoff up there and where I could catch me a ride and on into town. I said, then I got to thinking, no, if they took all my cars and everything else, surely there ain't no key in it. Well, there was a key in it. And it got me down to where I wanted to go, and then I got down there, everybody must have knew I was home, because nobody gave me a ride. Then I walked a couple of miles, and I finally got a ride, and went into Beaumont. Stayed on a binge for 2 more weeks. I went in and bought a 98 Oldsmobile. It was gold colored. And I drove around for 2 weeks, they said, saying, how do you like my red Buick? All kind of stupid things like this are in the book.
Apparently, from what I've read, the marriage was troubled by your drinking.
Well, we drove to the chapel. I had a filth between my legs, and one of them big liter set them up laying down there close by. And she didn't seem to mind it then.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not going to tell you all of it. You got to read the book.
Okay. I'm going to show you some videotape of an interview I did with Tammy. And the subject is George Jones. You told me, in fact, it's in your book, you deny that you ever shot at Tammy.
Never did.
Okay, let's roll. Could we roll that piece?
But when he's drinking, he turns completely into a madman. He liked to play with guns, and he would shoot guns in the middle of the night. He shot up the bathroom one night when I was laying in the bed with him and Georgette. With a 30-30 deer rifle, he shot the tiles off the bathroom walls, and us laying in the bed together. And I'm, you know, with a 6-month-old baby girl, so just he was Jekyll and Hyde, as the old saying goes.
Did he ever take a shot at you?
Yeah.
I don't even believe I had a gun. I didn't. I never, back in those days, especially during the time we were married, I never went hunting or anything like that. Hell, we were on the road most of the time. No, I don't even hunt now. I'm not in the, I got a bunch of guns now, but I got them, look out, Nancy. But they're all in the case, and they're brand new. I've had them a long time now, and they've never been fired even. And no, that's not true. That's not true at all. I was a little bit of what, you know, everybody knows I was.
Did Tammy have you committed at one point in your marriage?
Well, this was back at the time that she says that I did all this rifle shooting, and about the only thing I'd done was I didn't tear a house up. I tore the living room up. I threw a bottle into the TV set. I knocked 2 or 3 or 4 lamps over. I might have broke a coffee table, something like that, but it never got out of that one room.
Are you talking
And
about the
there
house?
was no guns involved.
Are you talking about the house in Florida?
Right. I left there or to go work or go uptown, or I did something. And when I came back, the whole entire house was almost a wreck. And I know for a fact that I got nowhere near out of the living room.
Well, I think we're
And
talking about...
somebody went in there and set it up, something was tore up bad in every room.
I think, and this is the house we're talking about, it's called the Plantation, wasn't it? You had a country music park
right.
next door to it.
Right.
And I think in her book she accused you of wrecking this house on one of your binges.
Well, I don't have to lie now, so I don't know why I should, so I'm not. I tore up the living room, the den, what you call the front of the house, and I did break a lot of lamps and things like that, but I went nowhere else upstairs or anywhere else in that house, and I shot no rifles.
Did she have you committed at this point?
Well, she talked me into going and talking to this doctor, mainly because I was pretty sick at the time when I straightened up a little. And I went down there. Well, she signed a paper to have them keep me there, which I couldn't. You couldn't get out on your own accord. Mm-hmm. So I think I stayed there a week or so.
Now see the stars like...
How were you introduced to cocaine?
Oh, while I was in that state of mind, after roaming around Alabama and being out of work and not working, and really getting really low down, I was approached by Shug Baggett.
Now, did Shug Baggett somehow become your manager at this point?
Well, at that time, I didn't care, you know. I wasn't really caring what happened, and he wanted to start a nightclub down in Printer's Alley and call it Possum Holler. And all he needed was a little money or so and stuff to get things started. And I thought it was a good idea at the time. I had nothing else to do, so I did that. And after a couple of years of being involved there, and well, I mean a couple of months. I didn't mean 2 years. Like I say a while ago, I was about my lowest point of drinking. I wasn't eating, was losing a lot of weight, and I couldn't do a show there at the Possum Holler Club that night. I didn't have the energy, and he took me back in the whiskey closet bin and told me to try something. I'd never seen it before, you know, and he just said, sniff it. You'll sing all night, and I did. And it made me sick.
Did it get you hooked?
Bad, because I didn't take it like anybody with any sense would take anything. When I found something good, I just got all of it I could get. I was afraid I wasn't going to get no more. No, that's funny, but it's sad. But I didn't want to lose that feeling, you know, and I just would overdo it.
Nancy is the lady who literally saved your life.
I have to give her 100% of that credit. I sure would.
When you met Nancy, I gather it was kind of love at first sight.
I guess you would call that.
Where'd you meet her?
Well, it was a sort of an odd type of thing. My manager at the time, one of the managers I had at the time, had a girlfriend in Shreveport and invited her up to New York to fly up and come and spend a couple, 3 days and see our shows and whatever. And could she get a girlfriend? And so she did, and talked her into coming up with her, and we met in New York. It was love at first sight.
When Nancy met you, did she realize that you had an alcohol and cocaine problem?
Well, you reckon she could have overlooked that? No, I'm sure she did, because I was in very bad, well, I was getting better, but I wasn't. I was still weak and in pretty bad shape, and I'm sure she could see that.
Nancy is stuck with you when a lot of other women wouldn't have.
You wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe there was a woman in the world that was quite like her.
There is no way in the short time we have on this television show to tell you all of the bizarre things that are in this book.
Oh, there's some goodies in there.
But I do want to talk a little bit about Muscle Shoals, Alabama,
Oh, my goodness.
and the mob. You felt, well, I read where your manager felt the only way to control you was to give you cocaine.
Probably so. He knew I would come back, and he could control me that way. I'm sure he might have had that in mind, yeah.
Somehow you fell in with the mob, or your manager fell in with the mob.
A lot of this, Nancy found out, and I did too there after I started knowing what was really going on. But right at first, when I went staying there and being managed out of there, I didn't know that they were actually into that stuff. I was still getting my source from here.
Okay.
But come to find out, which Nancy found out long before I did, that these people that was right around me, working with me, all at the same time, was selling the fire out of that stuff, you know.
They didn't
and people were getting killed all around there, you know.
They didn't want Nancy to have control of you. They were
Right.
trying to cut her out of your life.
Right.
So they could control you. Didn't they put a life insurance policy and buy one on your life?
Yeah, they had me go get a physical, and like I could pass anything like that at that time. They got me straight a couple of days, though. It took me in there, and I took a physical, and I know that they, from what I understand, which I hate to mention things like that on TV, but you don't want to think that doctors and people like that get involved with these type of people, but you know, it's all over the world, and it does happen. And they can get you an insurance policy through the right channels. And
Do you think that they took out this policy on your life with the idea of killing you and collecting the money?
no, I think they really thought that I was eventually going to die or kill myself, either by car, or, you know, and or just die, because I'd already got down to about 105 pounds, I think. In fact, when I went in, after I was in a while in the hospital, the doctor had a talk with me and told me that, he said, "George, I'm not lying to you at all. You couldn't have made it 2 more months." He said, "You wouldn't have lasted 2
Is
months."
this when they took you to, what, Hillcrest in Birmingham?
Uh-huh. And so if I'd have just kept going like I was going, I would have been dead.
There was a guy named Big Daddy down there who liked you and Nancy.
Yeah, and we
Dina.
liked him, you know. And at first we didn't know that he was involved in all this mess.
Was he a nightclub owner?
I think so.
Anyway, because he tried to help you and Nancy and Adina, they killed him.
Right. Well, they killed him.
This is a fascinating story. And to get all of that, you're going to have to read the book. I have another tape I want to show you, and I'm going to play it because, George, it shows you at your worst, to graphically illustrate what we're talking about that they'll find in the book.
Right.
And you were wild.
It's very embarrassing, but it's the truth.
Is that okay to play?
That's the way the book is. It tells the truth.
Okay to play it?
Sure.
This is down I-65, just south of Nashville in 1982.
But you're not going to do that.
Wait a minute, Mr. Jones. Now listen to me.
I didn't know he's back here. He just pulls up. Now, I ain't gonna have you start no mess with him.
Well, you tell him to get away from here.
All right, he ain't got nothing to do with me.
I'll go to jail with you. Anywhere you gonna go?
All right, you're gonna go with me, but you ain't gonna mess with him, all right? Come on, now leave him alone.
What the hell?
I don't know, but I don't
What have I
want...
done?
You are drunk. I want to...
I am not.
Yes, you are.
No, sir.
I want to come up here and give you some tests. Now, I want you to leave this man alone, okay?
No, you tell him to leave me alone.
Okay, he's gonna leave you alone. We're gonna go up there where he can't see us. Come on. You wanna lock the car up?
No, sir.
You don't wanna lock it
No,
up?
you can run. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing.
What is that right there?
George,
Hey, come on then, George.
you make us real ass out of this.
Wait a minute, David. Hold up. All right, kid, I don't want you to take no swing like that.
George, you really look mean there.
You know, after looking at this, I really think that was set up.
Well, we thought it was kind of strange that they happened to be right there when that arrest occurred.
Yeah.
I do not have an explanation for that.
But they...
But I know in those days you couldn't spit on the sidewalk in Nashville without getting covered on TV.
That's right. But I'll tell you what, I'm not sorry it happened because it probably saved my life.
One of the things we haven't mentioned was your comeback record. You know which one I'm talking about?
He stopped loving her, did
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that song. I understand it took a long time to make that record. First of
Well-
all, you didn't like the original the way it was written, did you?
It didn't take that long, but I know what you mean. They had finished up another verse in it. I carried it almost a year, or about a year, and went around singing it all the time, what I could remember of. And I went back to Billy Sherrill and told him that the song, well, after we first heard it, I told him I didn't think the song was finished. He needed the lady coming back one way or the other, either to his funeral or some way, you know. And that's where the last part, where Millie did the pretty high soprano stuff, or whatever you call it, and the talking, the narration part, the talking part, or whatever you call that. And they come back with that about 6 months later and wrote that part and brought it to Billy Sherrill again, and I said, that's it. That's exactly what I had in mind, and that's we'll go in and cut it. So we did, and I told Billy, I said, Billy, this is too sad a song. They're not going to buy that. They wouldn't buy that. That's not the type of song they want to listen to. Boy, was I ever wrong, you know. It was just the biggest thing I guess I ever had. I wish we could find more, I wish more songs was written like that today.
He stopped loving her today. They placed a ring upon his arm. Soon they'll carry him away. He stopped loving her today. He stopped loving her today.